What's up, everyone? It's your host, Ghost, coming to you with another wonderful video. Um, how's everyone doing? I am exhausted, per usual. I'm always exhausted when I do one of these, it seems. Oh, Lord. So, I got a few things we're going to talk about. The Supreme Court of the United States had a couple rulings on Friday. We'll talk about that. Uh, and then we're going to talk about the Parkland cop found not guilty on his charges. Um, and then we're gonna laugh. We're gonna laugh at some guy who hits his gun with a hammer in protest. I guess is why. Fucking weird as hell. Um, we're gonna watch that, laugh at that. It amuses me. Oh man, tired. Anyways, so that's the plan for today. Oh, sorry. Ignore that. There you go. Chat link up. In case someone wants to talk to me. Very important. There we go. All right. Sorry. Got everything situated now. Situation has been achieved. All right. Oh, sorry. Just yawning. All right. Just yawning. There we go. All right. So let's get into it, huh? First things first, let's talk about the Supreme Court. That's not what I want. No. I'm going to stop something. There we go. There we go. All right. So one of the rulings the Supreme Court made yesterday was on ruling against student loan forgiveness. Now, that just means that Biden, you tried to ham fist student loan forgiveness in. The Supreme Court said, "Hey, yo, that's not constitutional. You can't do that." So which good. The thing is, with student loan forgiveness, what a lot of people either don't understand or refuse to understand or whatever is all student loan forgiveness means is instead of the person who signed the contract saying, yes, I accept this loan and I promise to pay it back using the money I get from whatever job I get in the future, instead of that person being the one to God damn, what's the word I'm looking for? To instead of that person being the one saying, yes, I'll pay it back, all that happens is that money that was, that individual's responsibility to pay back would then be tacked on to the taxpayers. Because whenever the government does anything involving money, whether it's forgiveness, loans, and shit like that, generally it comes from, well, not generally, always, because the federal government doesn't get money unless you're paying taxes. So instead of the person that agreed to the terms, it would mean that individuals that didn't agree to the terms would have their tax money, whatever, would have to pay it. So basically, the rest of us would have to pay on a loan that someone else agreed to. Now, I agree that loans, the student loans, they can be a lot and ridiculous and all that stuff. But the biggest thing is, sorry. The biggest thing that we got to remember is, although they are expensive, the person that accepted the student loans has the ultimate responsibility to pay them back because they're the ones that accepted it. And I think that a lot of people just, they just see student loan forgiveness and they're like, oh, It's very helpful. That's awesome. We should do it just because we're so kind and caring and all that crap. Well, all right, sure. That's a point. But I don't understand why me, who's never taking out a student loan, well, yeah, no, I haven't taken out really any student loans. Because I don't have any student loan debt. My wife does, but I don't. But me, why I should be required to pay, student loans from Joe Schmo just because he decided to uh, friggin' major in gender studies or lesbian dance theory or some shit like that, and now he can't pay it back because he has a crappy job because he got a degree that's useless. Um, and same thing is, I don't think I should have to pay back the loan of some lawyer just because he's got $200,000 in debt or whatever. We like to remove responsibility from people. Uh, but yeah, we like to remove responsibility from the people that originally took out the damn student loans themselves. And don't get me wrong, it was gonna be, you know, you'd get $10,000 off on your student loan or something like that. Oh no, it was up to I think it was 10,000 on non-federal student loans and 20,000 on federal student loans. So, and that would be for 43 billion people. Uh, and of those 43, 20 million would have had their remaining student debt erased. Now, like I said just a few seconds ago, my wife has student loan debts. She has 20K or something like that. So I would have massively benefited that because, as some of you may know, my wife's a stay-at-home mother. So obviously she doesn't have any money to pay the student loans. So it ends to be on me because I married her to pay her student loans. So that means, so I would have benefited extremely by the forgiveness thing. And had it passed and everything like that, would I have taken it? Absolutely. Free fucking money. Fuck yeah. I would absolutely have taken it. I don't, if anyone who didn't take, because, the way, this type of shit is, uh, the way this thing is done is, whenever something like this that the federal government has passed, the money's already earmarked. Like if you don't take it, that's all it means is there's just going to be some money left over for this thing. So you might as well take it. So yeah, I would totally have taken the money and used it, paid off my wife's student loans, and or at least reduced it significantly, and I'd be freaking happy about it. Um, sorry, just looking at stuff. So yeah, I would have massively benefited, but it's wrong for someone else to pay my wife's student loans just because she chose to accrue student loans and then not get her degree that she used it for, and then not get paid a decent amount for the degree she chose. Um, that's just my opinion. I'm just looking through this. Sorry. Okay, sorry, just reading through it. So I get distracted real easy. So it looks like the student, everyone's gonna have to start paying their student loans in October. It's been frozen for the last 3 years because of the pandemic. So, anyways, so that's that one. There's been a lot of wins going on lately for the Supreme Court, so that's a good one for people. I always thought it was wrong, the idea that someone's gonna have to taxpayers are gonna have to pay for someone else's decision to make student loans. And I see a bunch of arguments saying like, "Oh, you don't understand. It's predatory." Blah 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 blah. Well, okay, maybe, but the individual is still on the hook and responsible for paying on the amount they agreed to because they agreed to it, regardless. Whether you like it or not, you agree to it. You didn't put any more research in it. You didn't figure out, all right, is this a good degree or whatever. And a lot of people gotten stupid ass degrees, so pay it back. All right. That's ruling one. Second ruling that we're going to talk about is, let's see, it's basically the Supreme Court rules for a designer who doesn't want to make wedding websites for gay couples. Now, the important thing about this is the web designer is religious. I think Christian or something like that. And she refused. Yeah, Christian. She's a Christian graphic designer, and in the Christian belief, same-sex couples it's a sin, and she didn't want to be forced. She refused to work with the same-sex couples. A couple of years ago, there was this baker, I think in Colorado. And he didn't want to bake a cake for a same-sex couple. Actually, that's incorrect. He didn't mind having to bake the cake. He was completely fine with baking the cake. He didn't want to bake like a very like sexually, like I think it was a penis cake. He didn't want to bake that cake, but he was okay with baking just a normal wedding cake, but he didn't want to bake a penis cake, and he was Christian too. I just want, when I saw this, it reminded me of that. Anyways, so back to this ruling. Her name's Lori Smith, and she says she refused to design websites for the same-sex weddings, despite a Colorado law that bars discrimination based on sexual orientation, race, gender, and other characteristics. The court said forcing her to create websites would violate her free speech under the Constitution of the First Amendment, and also her religious beliefs. The decision suggests that artists and photographers, videographers, and writers are among those who can refuse to offer what the court called expressive services, if doing so would run contrary to their beliefs. But that's not different from other businesses not engaged in speech and therefore not covered by the First Amendment, such as restaurants and hotels. All right, so that was the decision. Now, one of the liberal justices wrote in a dissent that the decision effects is to mark gays and lesbians for second-class status. I'm sure if this wedding designer had a Muslim come up and ask for her to design a website, I'm pretty sure there's probably just as much likely she would refuse because it was a different religion and stuff like that. There's a good chance she might refuse that too. It's probably just her beliefs, and that's okay. I think it's okay for us, for business owners, to just say, no, I'm not going to do this. Because it violates my belief. I think, all right, this is going to probably be very contrary to popular belief, but I think business owners should discriminate against whoever they want. I really do. And I know, back in, the 60s, we had that, but I think that's extremely different than what we're talking about here. That wasn't business owners willingly saying, I'm not going to serve black people. That's not what it was. That's a lot of people think that, but that's not exactly what it was. Back during Jim Crow, that was law. They were required to refuse service or separate the color, people from by color. Either, black people on one side, white people on that side. They were required by law to do that. If you're an actual business owner, all right, like in a restaurant or something like that, refusing service, even separating, it's not a good plan to make money because most business owners, especially nowadays, the goal is to make money. But if for whatever reason they decide, hey, I don't want to serve this person because of their color, whether they are racist or they just don't want to, whatever, odds are they're more than likely racist. I think they should be allowed to. And I know that's very unpopular, and I know that's probably get called racist or some shit like that. But I think business owners should have every right to refuse service to anyone whom they choose, regardless of whatever. And the reason I think that is because because one, in the end, they're going to end up getting punished because they're going to lose out on money. And that's like the driving force of having a business is to make money. So if they decide to hey, I'm not going to serve black people. All right, cool. They should be allowed to do that. And then that black person should be able to go tell all their black friends and every other person that does, their black friends that don't agree with that. And it's like, let's go to their competitor, do business there, give their competitor more money and run them out of business because they made a poor decision. That's what I think, businesses should be like here. You should be able to discriminate against whomever you choose regardless. And then that person can be like, hey, yo, let's go over their competitor and run them out of business by giving their competitor more money. So, that's what I think. Like I said, it's dumb business practice to discriminate because then you're just losing money. You got free money, or not free money, but you got, money losing because of whatever belief you have, whatever races you have in your heart or anything like that. You're losing out on money. And then eventually that's going to, it's going to, what's the word I'm looking for? It's going to end up hurting you in the end. So I think that is something we should, be allowed to do, basically. That's what I think. And, it's a very unpopular opinion, I'm sure. And, that could easily happen to me. I could go in and, I'm bald. I got a beard and I got tattoos and stuff. I'm kind of a big guy. And I could be mistaken for like biker or some shit like that and could get discriminated against and refuse service to. I'm also, not with this light, but I'm actually fairly tan. So, based on my own skin color, I could get refused service as well. Maybe not to the same degree, but there's there's still a good chance I could get discriminated against as well. But I think our business should totally do that. And I would just go and be like, all right, you don't want to serve me. Fuck you. I'm going to go to your competitor and run you out of business eventually. I don't think any sane or intelligent business owner would, go and discriminate against anyone. Because that just ends up, you ends up losing out on, various money opportunities. Unless you're in a niche, market, or you got that niche background. If you discriminate against, same sex couple and you're Christian, all right, well, it's just because you're holding on to your beliefs. And so you'll probably get a fair amount of Christian business that might keep you running. You may get some straight people, some non-religious people. I guess it depends, but but again, it just really depends. And again, I just think we should allow businesses to run their business how they want. They're the ones who take all the risk, and they should just run it how they feel like is best for them. And if they end up losing in the end, all right, that's how it works. But yeah, and people kept calling the decision. It's it's being discriminatory, blah 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 blah, and all that stuff. But hey, I mean, it may violate the 14th Amendment. I think is an anti-discrimination bill or whatever. It may violate that, but forcing someone to do it when they have a religious belief violates the First Amendment. And I think the First Amendment takes precedence over a 14th. But anyways, those were the two rulings that they have. I think it's been a good amount of rulings going on. I think there's nothing wrong with a ruling, whether and again, I don't have any hate in my heart for gay people. I really just don't care about anyone. I don't care if they want to, whomever they want to bang, do it, be happy. I don't care. But yeah, and also here's the thing, especially like with the cake bakery. Thinking back, is like, why would you want to go to a place and force them to bake you a cake, design you a website if they don't agree with your life choices or anything? Why would you want to go there? I don't think they'd like it, and at least like in the cake example, I don't think they would go out of their way and like poison anything like that. I just don't think they do a good job. So why would you want to go somewhere that very more than likely would not do a good job because they don't agree with your life choices and stuff? Like there's this weird thing that's going on where like in reference to the cake thing. The people that were like really upset about it, that the guy refused to uh the guy refused to bake a same-sex couple a penis cake or whatever. Like, why do you want to go to a business that doesn't want your business and would more than likely do a shit job for it? It just that part just doesn't make sense to me, I guess. Like if I went to a place and they're like, hey, I don't like serving, your kind or whatever, I'd be fairly nervous about them doing a very poor job or messing with it in some way or something like that, and I wouldn't know or anything. I'd be like, all right, cool, deuces. I don't care. I don't know. It's just weird thing that we have people doing where it's like, well, they're refusing to serve me. Well, I want to force them to serve me. Why? They're just not. They're either not going to do a good job. They might like mess it up. They might, yeah, no. It's a weird thing to me. All right. Well, moving forward, let's talk about the Parkland officer who was found not guilty. All right. So, back in I don't even remember when this happened. When did the Parkland happen? So I guess 2018, February 14, 2018. I think that's what it is. Yeah. So February 14, 2018, Nicholas Cruz went into his, I think he was expelled from the school, but he went to his old school or went to his school, I don't know, Major Stoneman Douglas High School, and opened fire and killed 17 students and teachers. Um, he was eventually fired, or he was eventually captured and arrested and all that stuff. And he was eventually found guilty, I think just last year, and got life in prison because the jury refused to um, vote on the death penalty, which I think was dumb. There's a lot of, I think, in instances when we got, one video proof and, we got overwhelming evidence that this person was the person that committed this crime, like in Daryl Brooks. And Daryl Brooks is the trial. That's a guy who in Milwaukee or I think Wisconsin ran over several fucking people in the middle of a parade. Did so knowingly and intentionally because it was obvious because he was there doing it. And there's several photographs of him doing it. I think in cases like this and Nicholas Cruz, death penalty should have been just like instant. Like, yeah, absolutely. You found guilty, death penalty. So the juries were morons in the Nicholas Cruz ones. Anyways, so when this happened, there's a school resource officer who stood by and outside for several long minutes. I don't even think he eventually even went in. But he stood by while these children were getting killed. Sorry, my body hurts. So he was charged with 11 counts of negligence, felony child neglect, and perjury, and faced a maximum sentence of nearly 100 years in prison for allegedly failing to apprehend the 19-year-old gunman. So Peterson arrived at the school building where the shootings occurred less than 3 minutes after the first shots were fired. Oh shit, he was there for a while, but remained in the stairwell for the remainder of the shooting, and then for another 40 minutes after it ended. Okay, so he was there for a while. He chose to run when he reached the school, and every student who had been killed was still alive by the time he pointed out. Defense argued he did not know at the time how many active shooters were at the school or when the shots were fired, and instead initiated Code Red. And then his attorneys argued that he couldn't be guilty of child neglect because he didn't meet the definition of a caregiver under Florida law, a term that often applies to parents and others responsible for children's welfare, but usually doesn't cover police. Okay. Just reading through this. Oh, that didn't even go very far. Oh, that's nice. All right, so he was found not guilty. I think it's a right decision. I don't think he did anything legally wrong. Morally, he's a terrible person. I think legally he didn't do anything wrong. I don't think he should have been charged, but he definitely should have been fired, and he shouldn't have any retirement. I think he's a garbage human being, because he was interesting. Um, he says something after the verdict. Peterson told the person the only one to blame for the tragedy was a monster referring to government. I agree with that. I agree that the guy, Nicholas Cruz, who did the shooting, is the one to blame. However, he didn't do his job. He stood there and did nothing. I mean, he called a code red and everything, but he didn't do anything. I don't even think when I don't think. Look, how generally active shooting procedures happen is the person, law enforcement arrives. When four people get together, they go in and they, attack and or whatever. So I don't think he did anything wrong. Like I said, legally, I think morally he's a garbage human being. He stood by 4 minutes while kids were getting shot and killed, and he called the code red and everything, and he waited, but I don't think he even went in eventually when there was enough backup that showed up. I don't think he did even that, which was wrong. And his attorney's arguments were that he couldn't accurately detect where the gunshots came from. Neither could several other students and teachers. He did everything he could. His attorney says, I don't agree with that at all. Again, I don't think he even went in once enough backup arrived. This was 5 years ago. I don't remember everything what happens. So I don't think legally he did anything wrong, like I keep saying, but he is a garbage human being for just standing back. Now, there wasn't no legal justification to go after him. However, there's enough civil justification. Because remember, if you remember, I talked about this before. I think during the about Andrew Tate and stuff. But the requirements for charging someone and convicting someone legally is like this high, beyond a reasonable doubt. While civilly, it's about this high. Okay, it's not very high. You need like more than likely is the person's fault. So I think there's a good case civilly to go after this guy. And if parents decide to do that, I don't really have any problem with that, honestly. So Linda Bagel Schulman, the mother of a slain Parkland teacher, Scott Bagel, slammed Peterson for telling reporters that he got his life back following the verdict. Well, bravo for getting your life back. I cannot get my son's life back. And here she goes. She said something I find actually agreeable. Is Bagel Schumann said that even though the jury found Peterson not legally responsible for this, she found him morally responsible for her son's killing. And I agree with that. Peterson told reporters he was open to talk to victims' family members, but Bagel said that was one offer she couldn't accept. I'm not going to speak to him and absolve him of his moral guilt, she said. No way. So, like I agree with that. I 100% agree with her. Just because he's found legally not guilty, morally he's garbage human being. Because again, I don't think he went in once enough backup arrived. Because generally, how school shooting procedures happen is like roughly four, like the closest four who get there, they get together and then they go in. You saw that in the shooting in Texas of the transgender one. You saw that happen, like four people, and it's just four law enforcement in general. It could be like a fucking like say so state police show up. There's a county policeman who shows up. and then a policeman from another county, and then a policeman from, I don't know, another county. They all show up. They meet at the school. They're like, all right, let's go in. And these people have different training and all that stuff. But those four people go in and clear the building one at a time until they find the shooter and end the threat. So it generally works. And again, I don't think he went in and did anything like that. He just stood out there and called for backup. I don't remember if any of the Parkland cops went in there. I think one eventually did, but or not one, but I don't remember. This was 5 years ago. I don't remember exactly, but yeah. So we'll finish that off. I think he retired shortly after it, and then in 2019 was retroactively fired. But yeah, that's that on that part. We're all done with him. Now we don't have to hear about him again. I think he, like I said, it's just garbage human being. All right, let's talk about something more cheery. We're gonna laugh at some moron. All right. You guys want to laugh at a moron with me? Let's laugh at this guy. All right. So this was a tweet I saw, and I think it's going viral. It's got 5.2 million likes or views, but only like 10,000 likes. So this is wildly unpopular. Obviously, it's a dumb thing. So I'm an Army veteran. Okay, sure. And I'm sick of all the guns here in Texas, so I'm starting with mine. This is really fucking dumb. Okay. So let's watch. Let's watch. How can I hear? Hold on. All right. So it shows up. Oh yeah. All right, that's it. That's it. It's so fucking dumb. He just comes in, Now, I'm sure people are wondering, what is he, is he just trying to act cool by, racking it back and forth? No, he's just showing that it's not loaded. But then he goes and puts it on some planks, and then he hits it with a hammer a couple times, and then he just stands there and then thumbs up. Like he did something real good. He didn't really do anything good. He just looked like an idiot. Like, first off, pump action shotguns are like the least. So I'm assuming this has to do with something. So I'm assuming that this has to do something with gun violence and all that crap and blah 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 blah. That's my assumption. And pump action shotguns are like the ones that are like the least used amount at all. Like if you used a handgun and hit it a bunch of times, then I guess maybe. But this guy just looked dumb. Honestly, he just goes over and hits it with a hammer a couple times, and he's like, "Oh, I did something really important." Like, how does what's the point of that? I'm sick of guns, so I'm gonna hit my shotgun. Look, you just told every robber and ill intent person that you don't like guns, and you're just gonna you're the person to target because you don't like guns. It's so dumb to me. That was just really, really dumb. He just hits it with a hammer a couple times. It's like, yeah, I'm real cool. I did that. I'm super, super cool. Just looked dumb to me. That just looked really dumb to me, and it makes me laugh my ass off a lot. Just looks fucking dumb. I'm sorry. It's making me laugh because the guy just looked like a fucking idiot. Uh, just stand there and hit the freaking his shit a couple times. He's like, ooh, I'm so cool. That's what he thought. He thought he was really cool. Let's see. I'm just looking, maybe see if there's anything else interesting. Looks like there's another thing. Supreme Court elect or Supreme Court related. This one's on the Second Amendment. It's a very important one. So on next term's docket, I don't really know how the Supreme Court works in terms and all that shit, but next quorum docket, Supreme Court agreed to add a major Second Amendment case. And this one is a federal law that bars an individual subject to a domestic violence restraining order from possessing a firearm. Now, a federal appeals court invalidated the law in March in an opinion that critics said it will make it easier for domestic abusers to obtain firearms. Court moved just a year after the justices issued a landmark opinion expanding gun rights nationwide. Let's see. This comes after, obviously, New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin. They stated, of course, that outlier that our answers were never. So that's the one it looks like they're gonna look at when it comes to Second Amendment. That one's gonna probably be another uncomfortable one. Now, here's the thing. Like I said, here's the thing. We'll see how consistent the court's going to be on the Second Amendment, because in New York State Rifle and Pistols Association versus Bruin, the court put out an opinion basically saying that we should go from we should be, or we need to, or I can't remember exactly, but basically it said when it comes to matters Second Amendment, we should go back to how it was put in, the restrictions that were put in at the time it was signed in. Now, for people that understand, there were no restrictions on the Second Amendment. I think even back then, felons could still own it, but every felony was they were executed. There was only a couple felonies people could get convicted of, and so I think technically, even though they were killed, they could still own firearms even if they were convicted of felony. So we will see if they will uphold their previous ruling when it comes to this. That'll be interesting to see. Now, let's see, what is. Yeah, so all this is a domestic violence restraining order from possessing a firearm. It's not a conviction; it's a restraining order. Let's see, fire. Let's see. Okay, so this is another Jesus Christ, I can't fucking predominance or per preponderance of evidence standard. So it's not a beyond a reasonable doubt. It's a preponderance of the evidence, which is I think is the same with civil stuff. It's a lower requirement for a restraining order, a domestic violence restraining order. That's for so that's for a domestic violence restraining orders, the preponderance of evidence. Now this is for California. But I'm sure most states are roughly around that. So it's preponderance of evidence. So yeah, so preponderance of evidence is just like a civil case. You don't need it doesn't have to be beyond a reasonable doubt. It just has to be more than likely not their version of events is true. So okay. So when it comes to that aspect, I mean, unless they're convicted, and I think is domestic violence a felony? I think it is. Okay, so you're not convicted of a felony. You just have a more of a civil case for a restraining order when it comes to domestic violence. This is going to be another unpopular opinion. I agree that a domestic violence restraining order shouldn't prohibit you from owning a firearm. Now, I'm sure that makes a lot of people uncomfortable for thinking, I get it, but you're not convicted of anything beyond a reasonable doubt. And yeah, you're not convicted of anything beyond a reasonable doubt. You're not convicted in a criminal court. You're basically convicted in a more of a civil court, because of a preponderance of evidence, which is more civil than it is criminal. So yeah, I agree that if you're convicted of or gotten a restraining order, even if it's for TV, you should still be allowed to own a firearm, because civilly you're found liable for something, or just because you got a restraining order, you haven't been convicted, because there's a different standards for both. So I can agree with that, although it makes a lot of people uncomfortable. Here's the thing: the person that you've committed DV on could equally easily obtain a firearm as well and learn how to use it and defend themselves. So we could have a regular old shootout. So that looks like that's going to be on next. We will see what the Supreme Court rules on that. That, because there's not a lot of Second Amendment cases, so depending on how they rule, that would be very interesting. It would actually show whether they're going to be consistent on their stance early from New York Pistol and Rifle Association versus Bruin. We'll see how consistent they are. So that'll be an interesting case to watch. Oh, my neck. All right. Well, that's all I got today. Okay. Oh, sorry about that. I'm going to go back upstairs and go back to bed for a couple hours before my wife has to go to the doctor's appointment. I hope you all enjoyed my video. We talked about a lot of stuff. You heard a lot of my opinions. I'm sure a lot of it made people uncomfortable. But you shouldn't be so uncomfortable that you're not willing to like and subscribe. Follow me on YouTube. Like my video, follow me on Rumble. Like my videos on YouTube. There's like 33 people that, at least viewed the video while it was being, in its live stream preview thing. And, there seems to be a decent amount of people that watch my videos. So you should follow and like my videos. Get my monetization up. Yes, I'm trying to earn money on Rumble. So, but also, I need 5 people to live stream without paying. I need 20 in total to get my own unique code. So please follow me on Rumble. You don't want to follow me on YouTube, that's fine. Follow me on Rumble. All right. That would be very helpful. Make sure to follow me at Official W Ghost, and you can see where I'm when I live stream, when my videos drop, etc., etc. Yeah, that's all I got. So, I'll just see you tomorrow. We'll talk. I think tomorrow we'll discuss the Second Amendment. I might just do a video drop, or I might live stream. We will see. But yeah, so make sure you like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Follow me on the Twitter. But yeah, I will see you all later. Peace out and have a